But I'll take a little bit of a step back and sort of, you've seen this image up here a lot, and I think the reason that I'd like to talk about it a little bit is probably where I went and sort of sparked my interest in sort of change and innovation. I started in Canada, I grew up there on a farm, and I get bored really quickly. And ArtCenter was a place where I was able to explore and get inspired by the people around me. And I ended up doing things that I wouldn't otherwise be doing. And that's sort of kept me going for the last 10, 15 years of my career. I was doing things in motion and doing things in interactive and working with people in Tokyo. I worked with CalArts to do their magazine with a bunch of people that were way smarter than I ever was and could never understand. And then, on the other hand, I went and met with ice cream vendors all over LA and did a book on them. And I learned things that I never would have learned otherwise. And then, fast forward, I've had the privilege of working with a bunch of amazing people and amazing brands to do really sort of fun things, which I hope to share with you a little bit today. I went to New York, so I got sort of uncomfortable in LA. I was there for maybe 4 years, and that sort of made me move. And then I was doing a lot of print and books and identities, and I got bored with that. And sort of the reason I bring some of this up is because I think innovation comes a little bit from being constantly dissatisfied with your environment and sort of pushing to do something interesting, pushing to sort of do something new, whether to inspire yourself or to inspire a whole community of people around you. I had the luxury of joining a team and working with a brand that I'm a fan of and had been ever since playing hockey growing up as a kid. And we started off and we invented this, or Nike did, and we just helped bring the experience to life, but putting a sensor in a shoe and connecting it to an iPod and being able to track your runs. So that existed for maybe 5, 6 years, and we were always trying to figure out how do we bring this innovation to more athletes. And that's when we started working on the Nike Plus Fuel Band, Nike Plus Basketball, and Nike Plus Training. And the fun part in sort of hearing some of the speakers up here is we get to do that from scratch. We get to invent something. The basketball and training things never existed. They came to us and they said, well, we can put this really fancy sensor in a shoe. What should we do with it? And building a little bit on what Andy was saying, we went out and put together a vision. So we spent 4 weeks and we made it up. We sort of figured out what was happening in the world, we took an intuitive guess about what we think athletes would want, and we painted a picture. So kind of like the journey from Disney, we did a very similar thing. We hacked together a bunch of screens. We went and shot a bunch of kids playing basketball, and were able to sort of show where we could head if we got this thing to work. And we fast forward, Nike was excited in it. We collaborated with them over 2-3 years, and we were able to launch a series of products that learned a ton from, and were able to measure how high a kid could jump or be able to track a workout straight from your feet. Backing up a little bit more than that, this is sort of the graphic design part and some of my training at ArtCenter and interactive coming out, and these are some of the other things that I was doing. I sort of did experience for Louis Vuitton. I like to sort of think of the Nike ID thing as one of the first time we made the product, the interface. So we were able to actually make the shoe for the first time. You could actually touch different parts of the shoe and design your own. Before that, you had to click a bunch of buttons on the interface. And it was sort of amazing 1 to 2 year project to be able to go in and do that with any product, everything from a watch to a handbag to a shoe, and have it work. The technology was pretty fascinating. About 18 months ago, I joined a team at Google called Brand Studio, and it's the best way to describe it is it's a lot like an agency inside Google. We have sort of researchers, experienced designers. We do naming, identity, motion, social. We manage the brand, and there's product packaging, and funny enough, we still do books. So this is a little bit more, and I won't spend much time on it, but we do things like building. We built a store to sell our hardware for the first time. Previously, Google was sort of sold in different commerce places, different retailers. We wanted to be able to tell our story. While we did it, we were able to influence all the product photography, all the lifestyle photography, and we were starting to manage that from the brand. We had some really interesting things happen when we when Alphabet occurred and we had a new holding company. We had a series of companies that now lived under Alphabet and new management versus Google of the day before. So we had the luxury of starting to rebrand and rename a couple of new companies. We get to do a lot of cool things in VR. We work with a cultural institute to highlight 5 of the largest performing art centers in the world and brought the experience to everyone online through VR. So bringing these sort of experiences to people that maybe can't travel, maybe can't see them, and it's one of those sort of innovations I get super excited about and have the luxury of doing well at Google. So I want to walk everybody through a case study that we've been doing at Google, and it really talks about strategic innovation and definitely being able to do it at scale. In this region, everyone sort of saw that this happened or has a chance to use some of the products that we make. But a few months ago, we'd redesigned the logo. We had a hunch, and I think there's a lot of things that come out of innovation based on hunches, right? A lot of designers, and maybe depending on your experience, you sort of make a guess about what maybe the future's like or maybe what's not working. And so we were seeing this thing, and we called it internally about the disappearing Google. We just felt like sometimes you couldn't see the brand, sometimes you didn't know what we made. So we went out and we started doing a bit of research. And we stumbled upon some interesting things. After interviewing about 290 people, we started asking about our products and services. And we sort of very simple questions like, is this Google Inbox? And I don't know how many people have sort of know Google Inbox or have had the chance to use it here in this country. But we have this problem as well. Is this it? And we sort of did this across several of our products. And I don't know whether anyone can tell the difference. This is Microsoft over here, and this is us over here. And from a brand point of view, it's really difficult to sort of like see and experience for a lot of people. So we started asking ourselves, how could we make this more clear? Where do we start? So let me step back. A lot's changed in the last 10 years. One, we went from a destination, from a search box that you used to click in and sort of hopefully find answers to your questions, to an application. And even in that step, we started sort of changing your access to the sort of brand. Then this happened, and there is different sort of, we had less control over the environment about where the brand started to live. And then this happened, and we had less control over the platform that it lived on. So we started doing things for really tiny screens, we started doing things for TV, and as many people in here, we started doing things for automotive. And then this happened. So this was a design language called material design that was done for a lot of our products, particularly on Android. And what was really awesome about it, it was sort of, from a graphic design point of view, it was beautifully designed. The problem with it was designed to be brand agnostic. It was designed so that anybody could pick it up. So in essence, by an amazing team doing this work, they created a different problem for us by not being able to see which products were ours. So what do? We started creating a system. It started with a logo, but a logo really isn't a brand anymore, as we all know. It's more about how everything starts to connect. So we started doing a language, and then we started changing the way the UI moved, behaved, and looked. And we did this, 3 teams did it. It was kind of a blast to work on. And there was a team that worked on the logo. There was another team that did a lot of the product implementation. And then our team did all of the marketing. So in a matter of 24 hours, we were able to swap out 60,000 assets globally between 9 a.m. and noon. And that was kind of an amazing orchestration that we pulled off at scale in sort of under 2 months. So are we done? Sort of, not even close. So from there, we started working on this, on a way to build an influence brand within, and build a culture of it inside the organization. And it starts with this thing we call brand DNA. And that's essentially a hub that we're starting to proactively design and manage. As we were doing this, we noticed that we had this other problem where we had guidelines for everything. So if anybody's worked on a brand or done these things, they're kind of familiar with them. Sort of a box to play in, if you will. We had different ones for everything we made. Sometimes they were confusing. Sometimes they outwardly contradicted each other. Here's a little bit of research that we did just to find the ones that existed 2 years ago. There were hundreds. So we set out to change that, and we started doing just a few of them. So we started doing sort of one for the logo. We worked on one for a typeface. We updated our color palette, and then a voice and tone. We started defining all the photography, approach to editorial, how our products had interfaces on them that always communicated the advantage of the product. We did motion guidelines, and so this was just the beginning at a very high level. But we know most people experience a lot of our services through digital. So we started another initiative called Web Standard X. And we started working in a climate where we currently have about 450 marketing sites that exist. Last year alone, we had 4,000 or 5,000 code changes, which are about 100 every week. So we need to figure out a way that we can actually make this a lot easier for people. We want people to be able to innovate. We don't want them to be making the same stuff over and over again. So we started working to make these more and more easy for developers, agencies, product partners to build from. We took a month and we did an audit of everything that was done. We leveraged everything that was working well, and we started testing it across users. So we started building a language, we started building components and pattern libraries that everyone could use. We would go out and we would test them with users and make sure they were working the best that they could. And then we started putting them together. So we would start doing things like all our mastheads that sit on the top of all our pages so that they were consistent and they worked across the diversity of things that we did. We started speccing things. The details, this is sort of like graphic design nerd layer, but putting together grids, figuring out navigation, footers that sort of were consistent across those 400 websites. We did fun little things about like how do we reduce navigation? How do we sort of make it simpler? How do we make it sort of fun to play with? And then we built a website to show it, how it all comes together, so people could see it and understand it. We're not starting to do shoes. This is just us having a little bit of fun. But it was a whole working website that shows all of the different components that you may need to build. And it's always evolving, but the great thing about it is all of the engineers can strip all of the code and put it into any site that they're building, and they can do it in minutes versus days. So essentially what we were doing is putting together a series of brand guidelines at a very high level that it can inspire both internal teams across our global organization as well as all the partners and vendors that we work with. Then we were building a code library so that this stuff can be done at scale and efficiently. And then we built an example site so sort of designers, developers could see how this stuff comes together. That's it for me. Thank you.